All right. Well, this is the DFly podcast. I'm your co-host, New Hampshire, with your host, Fat Jess, and we're going to have everyone go around and introduce themselves so that people listening in can kind of associate which player has which voice. So why don't we start with Skordraec
Hello.
and Thunder
Hi there, this is Thunder from Dark Green.
and JiffyJ.
Hey, New Hampshire. Hey, Fat Jess. Thanks for having us on.
Glad to have you. Welcome. So today's game was a level 0 spawn. So, Skordraec, did your team have a hard time leveling up?
At times we did, yeah, a little bit, but for the most part we were managed to get reasonably leveled okay. It was the spawns that threw us for a loop for the most part.
Yeah, I would say that was the consensus early on. It was an awkward spawn, so getting up to levels was a challenge in the beginning. But it wasn't too bad.
And where did you guys spawn?
I spawned inside Sky Expansion. Like, I spawned and then immediately Jet flew by building a wall.
Oh,
He spawned, and then she watched Vulpes appear on her screen. So we were both right next to other teams. It was not a good spawn.
I had a similar situation. I think this was the first time I was only like level 7 or 8, and when I was up against people starting to shoot at me, and it took a good deal of time before I was leveled.
wow. It sounds like a kind of a rough spawn for the team overall. Or do you think it was just maybe the three of you, or is it kind of the team consensus?
We were behind on expansion from that spawn, so we were fighting the whole game to get leveled and expand the way we wanted to. So it did put us back a bit.
It was more of a challenge because we were fighting. I think I was starting to fight when I was level 11, level 12, and right away we were pressed up against 3 other teams. It makes for more of a challenge, especially in a new map.
Absolutely.
Were the teams that you guys up against, it seemed like they were kind of fully spawned, like going around high speed, fully upgraded towers, bullets everywhere? That might be a good question for now let's throw that to Jiffy.
Yeah, well, you know what? I felt like we were in a pattern. It was kind of like Groundhog Day. The same thing kept happening. So we'd be slowly pushing back CV for maybe 1 to 2 minutes, and then somebody would peek, or somehow one of their snipers would get a bullet in, and it would blow us up, and then we'd be back, and then we'd start again to slowly push them back, and then again they'd kill us. But that team, they're really, they're a powerhouse. They're a behemoth, and they kept managing to shoot us down. So I think we were always in a state where the builders weren't maxed out, so we had not bad walls, but not the greatest. And CV is just, they're nasty. They're so good at exposing any weakness, so they kept making us pay. Did you feel that way, Scored? Because I know you were on the front line.
Yeah, I think I got to full shields all of twice and then died shortly after. It was an interesting game, to say the least.
So, JiffyJ, what hill spots did your team go for?
We took the corner initially, and then we started to kind of expand outwards. And we ended up almost exclusively actually battling it out with CV. Our original plan was going to be, take the corner, the middle of the quadrant would be kind of easy, and then kind of work toward the middle. But we ended up in this life and death struggle with CV, so we didn't really execute exactly the plan.
Yeah.
Those scheming CV guys always in our way.
Which corner were you guys in?
We're in the lower left quadrant, so the plan was to take over the entire world, of course. But,
of course.
Especially near the beginning, we were really pressed up against the lower left side of that quadrant and battling it up to go up.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested. You guys touched on this a little bit about how the map really lends itself more towards kind of strategic trade-offs between points and area and leveling up. So, Jiffy and Thunder kind of touched on this a little already. So maybe for Score, do you guys feel that you had a strong plan going into the game and how it played out versus what was planned initially? Because every team always plans, we'll just take the whole map, right?
We had a good plan of exactly what we wanted going in. The spawn definitely threw us off for a loop. It was difficult to get what we wanted done within a reasonable amount of time with how far the spawn put us back. CV at one point managed to squeeze their way down and literally be our only border besides the edge. So we just had to fight them for the whole game until we finally managed to push them away from one of our edges.
You know, Mike Tyson, the boxer, used to have a saying. He'd say, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. So he would ruin their plan. And I would say CV ruined our plan.
Thanks a lot, CV.
Yeah,
There you go.
thanks.
So JiffyJ, did your team get to try out the map, beforehand? I know there was a couple spots that we had available for, teams to try it out. The tournament organizers did great.
Yeah, that was really nice. That was very helpful. So I did log in, and in fact, I never knew that you could fly through the gray dots, the ones that were separated from the main wall. I didn't even know you could do that. So I was, it paid off for me. So I did get to play with it. I thought it was pretty cool. Was Risky's map, right?
Risky Player 13's, the Viper's Nest map.
Yeah, it's pretty cool just having these different looks and different feels. And this one was very unique. So I was glad I got a chance to try it out.
And
So,
kudos to
go
Risky
ahead.
for this incredible map too. It makes for an interesting challenge when you've got all these different gates that you have to figure out how to actually defend appropriately. And being able to actually capture the points is actually tougher than we envisioned. So it was nice to have that practice time slot for sure.
Yeah, one thing that helps, 'cause normally we would have Sour, it's kind of like mission control. So he wouldn't play, but he'd be on the VC and he'd be kind of keeping an eye on the map and helping give direction. And it's nice when you're dedicated to that, but he wasn't able to make it. So we were doing it ourselves. Like, he was doing a good job for sure, but he's also playing. So you can imagine if you're trying to play and do strategy, that's more difficult than 100% focused on strategy. I think this is the kind of map where having that mission control would be super important.
So overall, let's throw this one out to Thunder. If you felt there were any special moments or highlights during the game.
I think that this team really showed its resilience this game. To Jiffy's point, we were feeling like it was a bit of Groundhog Day. It was like we were very much under pressure and under the gun the entire time. We'd kind of take two strides and then get knocked back a step, take two strides and knock back a step. But we gained ground and we really started marching, which was very nice. And one of the things that you don't see in gameplay, but when you're actually talking to the team over VC, is just how encouraging everyone is and how tactical we really respond in the moment and change up the strategies on the fly, and the team responds very well to that. So that's one of the things I really like about this particular team, and it really showed in this game.
I love that.
What about for either Jiffy or Skordraec? Either of you have any moments?
Yeah, I think the best moment for me was toward the end, because we were, like Thunder said, we were kind of marching forward, and other than that minor detail of dying a lot, we were doing pretty well. But toward the end, we finally did manage to pull some points away from CV without anyone dying. So even though we didn't have our best showing, at least at the end, we had that moral victory of taking some points away from another team. And hopefully everyone out there thanks us, because I think CV would have sealed the deal. I think if they were on the podium, they would have won the entire season. We were like martyrs. We sacrificed ourselves for the greater good, and now we get one more game to decide who wins.
I think my favorite part of that game was, like Jiffy said, right at the end. I had just gotten killed while we were disputing CV's 2. And while we were recovering from that, Goated went and sniped Shadow and kept them from getting that 2 in the last 2 minutes of the game.
Wow.
So
those final minutes are so crucial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Skordraec, that's a very good point. It became sort of like a who's who showdown at the very end.
I'm glad you guys brought that up, because Shadow actually spoke about that as well. Losing that 2-pointer at the very end, obviously with a different perspective. But definitely, definitely a tense, memorable moment.
For sure.
So for him,
instead of having
it wasn't his highlight.
Instead of having dark green on a poster, instead of having dark green on a poster, then it's we're on someone's hit list for the next game.
Did he mention how often we die?
No.
Okay, just asking.
So I think that's all the questions that we have prepared for you guys today. But are there any final thoughts that you guys might have in summation?
I just say for me, even though we got whooped at that game, that was probably the most fun game. I thought it was a blast. Like we were dying everywhere, but we were making comebacks. It was super fun. So it kind of shows like it's not really necessarily about winning or losing. It's just about having a good time. And the morale on the voice chat was high the entire time, and people were joking around. So it was a blast. Even though we didn't make the podium, I loved it.
Yeah, it was lots of fun.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just GG to all the teams that played. Let's have fun next game too.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. I love hearing this. GG's.
Yeah, and it definitely
Mhm.
changes the outcome of the overall tournament standings. I think, like you guys were saying, CV really was able to, get a lead, and I think that would have became insurmountable. We would have gone into the last game with their position already being secure, and
Yep.
Mhm.
that last moment changed that, and now there's a lot tighter scoring. I think it makes the overall tournament a lot more competitive now. So I think this last game is
Yeah.
going to be all the more fun and critical because of that. So it's definitely, I think a critical moment of the season, maybe even overall.
Super excited about that.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys
Thank
so
you.
much. GG's.
GG's, everybody. Thank you.
All right. See you guys later.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Bye.